firms and practices that's really inspired this, because the people that we're talking to, you just said that it's here, it's happening. Well, actually, it's happened. We're actually not talking about something that's coming. It's already there. This is contemporary. It's done. It's with us. It's around us everywhere now. It's just a case of adoption.
Well, I'm using it. There's many practices that are using it already,
exactly,
which is good.
Right. So it's really those the conversations, those discussions I'm having with firms and accountants every day, every week, that's inspired this. It's also being a client of an accounting firm, and we've had a couple of firms that we've worked with. That's also inspired it, because ultimately, I know it sounds really corny, and I hate to sound corny, as you know. You know me well, but we do literally just genuinely want to make accounting work less work. We want to make it better for the accounting firms, but ultimately so that you can deliver the best, most successful service to small businesses and medium-sized businesses. Because to be honest with you, thinking of and looking at where we are now, we need all the help we can get. Not one day and month is looking easier than the one before. So all the help we can get, and we do look to you guys, whether you want it, accept it or not, believe it or not. But as a small business owner, I do look to my accountant. But I want a mix of a guru, I know all about accounting, but wears a business advisory cape. I want that superstar. The numbers for me, I know you guys love them, right? And speaking as an ex-accountant, I'm in recovery, but I don't really care about them so much. I crave the human of my accountant, not the number.
Yeah, the why, not the what.
You're right. So because when I'm standing there looking at, can I pay the payroll next month or something, I want someone on my shoulder giving me a little bit of, yeah, you're fine, I've got you. The numbers don't help me with that. They help you. I need the reassurance that what we're going to do in the future. What does the 6 months from here go?
You need a finance partner, right?
Yeah, it's a business finance partner. That's what it is. And I know your guys are changing role all the time, and the expectations are always going to change. And I think that's why we do what we do. I want to give you the best possible technology, the best enablement that we can. And we want to give it to accountants so that you can then do what you do best.
Right, so hearing what you said there, so am I right in understanding, this survey is an opportunity for people in practice, people everywhere actually, just to kind of tell you and your team what's important, where they are now, what's important to them. Yeah. And I think one thing that I'd just like to drop in now is people, well, certainly 10 years ago, before the DEX and the OCR readers, I didn't know what was possible, The fact we don't use paper anymore, which is brilliant.
Well, not everyone. That's the thing, and we're speaking to people all the time that still do.
I think one thing that's really important, in this next push forward for automation is trying to find out what is possible, because I don't know what is possible. You and your team definitely do. So I think for me, filling in this survey, which I will be, I'd like to kind of understand, what direction of travel there is, what else can be automated, how much time can I save, that sort of thing. So why should I do the survey, and what should I expect as feedback? Because I do a lot of surveys. That sounds wrong, but I sometimes I never hear anything. So what's the plan?
You're definitely going to hear.
And what do you expect out of the survey, and how are you going to share that with your audience?
It completely open and honest, and it's definitely going to be shared. So it's going to be annual, but we're going to do more regular updates as well. Good. So we're going to do an annual survey that's going to focus on holistically everything about automation for an accounting. And then throughout the year, we're going to do maybe smaller pieces that focus on specific things. There are trends, there are things happening all the time. It might be co-pilot type things that are slapped onto your systems. It might be something else. We want to focus on things throughout the year, but ultimately this is all about understanding, because everyone I speak to, they kind of want to know where their competition is. I know it's a brilliant community, but there's always a little bit of friendly competition, so much as, well, what's everyone else doing? What are they using it for? And we always get asked, what's on everyone else's roadmap, right? So this is an opportunity that we just want to say, right, tell us who you are, tell us what your firm is, what clients you serve, a little bit for that first. But then, what are you using today? What are you using? Where are you using it? Why are you using it? Are you using these things? If not, why? And if you're using none of it at all, again, tell us why. What is it that concerns you? Is it security? Is it data access and privacy? Is it risk? What is it exactly? Is it employees' perception of what's going to happen? All those things are all factors that slow people down in making decisions and adoption. So it's about assessing and getting all that level of detail, giving it back to everybody who takes part in this survey.
Yep.
And they can benchmark themselves.
Is it going to be War and Peace, or is it going to be a 10-minute special?
No,
you know?
it's to be honest, I think the survey, and I'm going to look around the room at the piece, but I think it takes about 3 to 3.5 minutes to fill out.
I've got 3.5 minutes for that sort
Well,
of
that's
thing.
what I was thinking, right?
Yeah.
Drinking a cup of tea, whatever.
Yeah.
Fill out the survey.
Yeah.
But we're going to run it. We're going to launch it today. It's going to run until the end of the year. We will get the results back within sharp time, and that will be an overview of this is the average of what everyone's saying. These are the outliers of what people are saying. These are the concerns they have. This is what they're using. This is why they're using it. This is where they're using it. We want to provide that level of insight, granular as we possibly can, so that people can start to benchmark themselves, because people want to know if they're behind the curve, on the curve, ahead of it, how far they are ahead of it. And we've got clients at all different levels in maturity in terms of the level of technologies that they're deploying. So we just want to get as much information back to people as possible.
So is that also in terms of what they're expecting from you and your team in terms of what they want to automate? So there's things in my, bank recs and reporting, that level of automation I've wanted and now I've got, so that's kind of like today. And what about tomorrow? So, there is an opportunity to say, please, sir, can I have something that stops me doing timesheets?
Totally.
I don't know, but that's probably a very bad example, but automates doing timesheets or automates reporting for time. Example, but
well, one of the things we'll probably end up
suggestions are welcomed.
More than welcomed.
Good.
We really want to engage with people. One of the things we've just started up is the customer advisory board. Now, I won't go into the details of that, but that's a select number of different people from different firms who are now really contributing to the industry insights that we get, where things are going, what they really need, what they really want, what their clients need from them, to direct the roadmap and the direction of travel that we take with what we're building. So I think a mad thing that's going to happen is, out of the survey, maybe 80% of accountants said they wanted to do this. We'll share that back and we'll say, right, let's here's 5 things that we reckon we can deliver to the market that will make a difference and answer the question.
That's certainly kind of like the basis that Xero's development team, they seem to prioritise their roadmap based on feedback from their quarterly sort of product updates. So that sort of flies. So in terms of the last 10 years has been really cool actually to be an accountant in terms of the amount of change. I mean, if you said to me 10 years ago that, I mentioned it earlier, I've got to hang up on paper, obviously, that we wouldn't need to keep paper invoices, that we'd have supplier rules, that you could, take an image that your client gives to you, auto-publish it, and not even touch the piece of paper, and it's already coded to your ledger. That sort of journey, 10 years ago, we would have all laughed out loud and gone, oh, I need to code everything, it's my ledger. Well, now we don't. So, that is something that's come about by Make Tax Digital, and all the jargon that's out there, Make Tax Digital, cloud, AI. I think AI is the latest jargon, and I don't really want to dwell on that because, tell us a little bit about, what you think is going to be possible going forward. And really, because the last 10 years, I think if you're not already on the automation bus, I think it's quite a scary place from an accounting point of view, because there is a lot of repetitive tasks that me and my team arguably need to do, but don't necessarily feel like we're using our expertise to do it. So that I think is kind of, we're already on that stage of the roadmap. So what perhaps is next, or maybe give us a case example. Have you got a case study of a client experience where you and your team have said, well, actually we could do that, and it's kind of rocked their world?
Yes is the short answer.
I didn't expect a no. It'll be a short call otherwise.
So, God, you asked me so many questions in that one question as well.
Right.
So many things I want to know, but no, it's good. It's good. I mean, this is the dialogue we've got to have. This is what needs to happen. So.
Well, for me, I'll give you one to give you a bit of thinking time. So for me, when I first met you, you said we can build one of our bots can just take a Xero report, which you think's pretty average looking and ugly and not very customer friendly, client friendly that is.
Yeah.
And we can make that look like how you want it, so you can not spend 20 minutes formatting that Excel report and have it pretty close to being ready to put in front of you and your client in a client facing meeting, so the conversation can go around the important stuff, not what colour and width and columns are and how many decimal places. So that's something that got my attention, and that was my call to action 18 months ago about why I think bots can help me in my practice. So now you've had your thinking time. Away you go.
We've got, I mean, that's the thing, there's no shortage at the moment of use cases. And often it does feel a little bit like, with automation and AI, and we hate the terms, right? But it is sometimes like a solution looking for a problem.
Yep.
And I think that's where we go wrong. So I'll give you some use cases in a second, but I think that's where we're going wrong sometimes. We're thinking too narrow. So when we look at we look at processes within our practice, we go, well, that's a bit of a problem over there, or this takes a bit too long. We're thinking very narrowly.
Well, it's normally bottlenecks and lack of resources to kind of
exactly right. But the whole thing's an organism, a living and breathing organism, and we've got to think a little more organically, a little more, but broader as well, right? So we can always fix a problem, but you just basically, a lot of the time you're smashing a nut with a sledgehammer. Yeah. A lot of the time. Whereas actually, and the real secret to this is, learning from the past is important. So if you think back to when you adopted cloud, and when cloud first came out, and right, there was a lot of mistakes with bringing cloud into your practice. A lot of it was overthought, some of it was underthought and underprepared for.
Agreed.
We didn't really have a clear view of what was success going to look like, and we thought very narrowly about the platform that was going to work on, as opposed to cloud transformation. Yeah. And that's why, I know you've said we've finally got off paper, but if you actually look at most practices, there's still far too much that isn't really connected. It might be on a cloud, but it's not necessarily on a connected cloud. So there's too many interconnected parts still not joined up. Yeah. And actually everything's getting developed that way, when it's not really getting better. So
the amount of software's out there, it's
what you end up
hard.
With,
that's why my practice, and I think you already know this, but for the benefit of,
and we see it across all of them. Right?
But I'm Xero and Dext only. If you can't standardise, and the process for me is key. Yeah. Sorry, go on.
No, but the thing with all the great technology we have now is you end up with app fatigue. Right, and there's another thing over here. We need an app for that, and another app for this, and before you've got this massive ecosystem that's 10 times bigger than it really ought to be, and you've done it because you've had to meet the expectations. Yep. So I think for me, it always comes back to, let's make sure that we're clear on what the expectations are, and then build a practice around what do the clients need, what do we need to do in order to deliver that, and then what we're trying to encourage firms to do is take a little holistic view. So rather than trying to fix individual things, you can do that, and you can start there, and it's great and it gets you moving. But you've got to think more holistically about the practice and the technology stack that's within it. And I think you're approaching it now, and bear in mind all the new people we're trying to bring into the industry who have been brought up with devices. They haven't sat there with paper. They've been given a device from the moment they could move their thumbs. Right? So to get them engaged and stay engaged, you've got to build around that with that in mind. So you almost approach it from building it with a automation first, bots first, AI first methodology. So you build that into the foundations of what you're going to do and how you're going to do it and how you're going to serve your clients. And your clients have the same expectations. They've also been brought up in that world where it's assumed, whether it's they're looking on their entertainment and their Netflix or whatever it is, or they're doing holidays or banking, they've been brought up with everything being that way. So they're ahead of us in a lot of ways. We're sort of stuck in the middle a little bit. So it's about rethinking how, from the ground up, how you're going to do that. Now that might sound terribly scary and troublesome and miles away, but actually it's not that difficult. It just takes a little bit of you've got to just look at it from a different angle. So the use cases that we see all the time now are, and when we always start off with, I've got this thing I want to sort out, or I like that bot you've got there. And it's always the starting point, but it's only ever the starting point. And like you said, you don't know what you don't know. So every time a classic example, I won't give the name of the firm, but Adam, if you're listening, it's about you, but when we started working with Adam, it was to, and he wasn't quite convinced, sort of a healthy skepticism, I think, probably of can this really work? Can it really do that? And I think once we demonstrated, well, yeah, actually this can work, and it works quite well.
And is it compliant as well? We're
it
kind
is
of
all those
like
things.
we're the trusted sort of advisors
Yeah.
of our clients.
Yeah.
So it working is one thing. Can it tick the compliant box
Yeah.
firmly?
Yeah.
Not not any doubt in the minds.
Yeah.
And actually help us do things quicker or do more with less, sort of thing.
More with less is always the thing, right? So but Adam quickly saw, well, actually, this actually does work. It is compliant, it is secure, it doesn't leak data, it doesn't breach any rules, and it frees me up and my team up from the stuff that we were doing, and now we've actually got a bit more time. So he moved on very quickly from that to, okay, well, what else can we do then?
Yeah.
And now we're talking about a conversational AI that engages directly with his clients to ask those FAQs.
Yeah.
That you just don't have time for, and for the umpteenth time, your UTR is this, for Christ's sake, would you go away, right? Those kind of things, right?
Yeah.
Because ultimately, when we have this conversation internally as a team, you can't change how people will interact with you as a client. They will be what they will be. Rather than trying to change something you've got absolutely no control over, and you can tell people all day long, A, B, C, only do this, don't do that. They're going to do it anyway. So we will try and approach it from the point of view, we build stuff in so that you don't have to worry about that, so that they can interact in a way as many times as they want to without frustrating you and without consuming your time. So we're moving on to that, and we're moving up the value scale now. So it started off with that low level stuff, but it's very quickly moving up the scale.
Great.
And he's saying, well, that's great, and I love the standard stuff you've done, but could you build this? Yes. Is the answer is generally yes, and we go through scoping that, and here's how it would work.
But specifically for my sector, the bank risk bot, for example, that me being an example, that to be able to clear the green items without me spending 5, 2, 3, 4 seconds doing it, that's a game changer for me. It's just those gains where me and my team aren't engaging their brain, and things can be done invisibly in the background, as good or better than a human being. I definitely perceive a bot to be a digital resource at my disposal.
It is,
and given that the whole sector, we struggle to find the right people, keep the right people. I see doing sexier accounting work or sexier finance rather than the grunt work is obviously makes it a lot more appealing.
Well,
right? I see that in itself, without the sexy stuff that you're kind of the more bespoke things, the off the shelf solutions that you guys have built and continue to build are a key driver to this survey in trying to identify a few of those.
There's a really well ad man called Rory Sutherland. I don't know if you ever know. Big guy, curly hair, talks, he's brilliant if you ever catch any clips of him, right? And he talks about why companies are successful, and he talks about McDonald's, and he says McDonald's are so successful because they're very good at not being shit.
Okay.
Right. And in some respects, I always think about that when we talk about bringing in people, new people, young people. I call them the new dogs. We talk about teaching old dogs new tricks, but the new dogs coming in, they've got to learn the old tricks from the old guard, from the guys who've been around for years. They've built up experience, they've learned from their mistakes, right? They've got this wonderful stuff you've got to impart on them. But if you sit down and start teaching them like with basically the equivalent of a chalkboard, scratching in, and this is how we work, right? Which is their equivalent as they see the world, because they've been brought up in a different place. You lose them, right? And it's very difficult to keep them and get them engaged. And also when you do your studies, you don't learn kind of the stuff that you have become used to, comfortably numb with doing, right? Which is just not rewarding stuff. So we look at it from that point of view of trying to just change the gear completely, so that they actually don't have to come in and learn those things. It's almost like the question I want to turn it back and say, what skills do you think now, and knowing what you know, what skills actually would you change? What do they need to change and learn differently when they come in? You're going to recruit another person to come into your practice. Given that you've now got what you've got, how will that change how you're going to onboard them and teach them?
Well, for me, I think I would like someone to be change agile. I'd like someone to have an open mind in terms of not doing things the same way as you've always done them, but to entertain the idea that there is a new way of doing things, and that isn't necessarily a wrong way of doing things. They essentially need to, you know, have an open mind to change. So for me, for example, you know, I'd like to click on every green match in Xero, and I'd like to look at an invoice and code it to the right place. But actually, you know, the reality is we need to get this huge volume that gets pushed through from clients, multiple clients. You know, my client monthly subscription client base is only in the 50s, but there's still, you know, we're talking thousands of transactions. So, you know, we want to manage this role or this responsibility on an exception basis. And I think that's where, you know, the bot comes in, and that's where, you know, anyone that I'm recruiting, they need to kind of not be one of those people that wants to do everything, which arguably is where accountants and bookkeepers were. Some still are, but 10 years ago, they want to be the, you know, the people that actually troubleshoot and do the exception, rather, you know, the ones that can't be automated, the ones that need a human brain to actually engage and go, well, I actually shouldn't be there, or actually that's not quite business, that sort of thing, because that's where we add our value. So it's definitely a different type of person that's less comfortable and wants to challenge and evolve the process, not just stick with the one that's there.
And I think that's another thing that we should get out of the survey, or accountants should get out of the survey, is it'll be an insight into what skills does the next generation need to be successful. Because if everything is going this way, the insights we give back will be automation, AI in these areas used for these kinds of things, the reasons why not. That could inform your training and onboarding you know, program effectively.
Well, I mean, you know, my first, all right, I'm knocking on a bit, but you know, my first sort of 2 or 3 years of training within a practice was, you know, quite an intimate relationship with a photocopier and paper. Get back to that old chestnut. I can't imagine why I'm scarred for life. But you know, there was a lot of photocopying. There was a lot of transactional stuff. There was a lot of dull grunt work, which thankfully is becoming a thing of the past
and
now.
That's the thing.
But I still need someone who's joining my practice to have the appreciation that that digital piece of paper in Xero needs to be visible, it needs to be compliant, it needs to be coded to the right place. So that's where I come back to, you know, the eye for detail, the exception reporting, and being able to troubleshoot data rather than literally lift and shift every piece of paper. And I think that's the shift.
And it's an old shift. This is not something new, right? But what you've just outlined is the challenge we've got is we're still doing the same thing, just in a different way.
Yes.
And that's the shift.
Well, that's the compliance piece, right?
But that's the shift that we also need, right? So we're still ticking and bashing, we're still verifying, we're still double checking. Actually, we don't and shouldn't do that anymore, because technology's now moved on. We don't need to be checking our own work all the time.
No, I agree.
All right, it's a bit like the car industry when
we still need to be
automated.
responsible for it.
Well, but like car industry when it automated, you go into a modern car factory today that's using robotics and automation and AI. None of them know how to use a spanner, or you know, it's like, you know, no one cares anymore, because that's not part of the makeup any longer. The makeup is forced from the back end. It's the experience, it's the end outcome, the result. And they're working it backwards, and they're doing different things. They're not just doing things differently, they're doing different things. And that's where we want you to get to, is you're not ticking and bashing and checking and double checking and compliant anymore. The things are coming through the system compliant. Yes, you'll need to know how they work and check exceptions, but ultimately that part of it goes away. The new stuff is the stuff that you're actually trained for, the stuff you sit and do exams for. And maybe that also needs to change, because maybe
I'm sure it will
the
evolve.
Education is all, and I've seen stuff come out recently about changes to the bodies and the things that they're looking to do differently. So I think fundamentally it's not about doing things differently, it's about doing different things. That's where it's now at, and it's not going there, it's now there.
But I think, you know, especially, you know, you mentioned there about, you know, doing things differently. But for me, my clients, you know, I'm selling a solution to them. I'm basically satisfying their compliance need. I'm telling them when to do things, what to pay and when.
Yeah.
And that's the safe pair of hands that actually, as a trusted advisor, I expect them to rely on me for.
Yeah.
But
they don't get excited by that.
No.
I don't get excited by it.
Just do your job, right? I pay you to do this.
Yeah.
Crack on.
That's the thankless task.
So they don't really actually care about the how,
No.
as long as it's done, and that's cool.
Yeah.
But the thing that really resonates with them is the being on top of the numbers, to be able to be the advisor when they come to me and ask questions. Every 3 months I sit down with my client and tell them whether it's worth getting out of bed for, what they could do better next quarter, that sort of thing. So it's definitely very much evolved. We are, as an industry, I think we're a solution seller now. We're providing an ongoing service. It's not like once a year. It's a rolling service. And it's something that definitely has value, whereas previously I don't think it did. And I see this survey as an opportunity. Certainly I'd like to learn more about what's possible, and more about how bots, because the way I view bots, pretty much like every other accountant, I don't know, but it took me a while to get there, and that is, it's a digital workforce. I struggle with finding the right people, retaining the right people, and frankly sometimes getting them to perform at the right level. And actually
that could be the biggest part, actually, can't it?
and the worst part of running a small practice for me is, I'm growing over 20% a year, have been for many years, is knowing when to recruit. And this for me is a real critical piece for me, because do you recruit before you have the clients, or do you recruit once you...
Age-old question, and it's the same with it, and actually your clients face the same trouble.
But what I love about a digital workforce, and you will not get 100 digital workforce, we still need people, because we need the talented advisors that are customer facing. But the thing that really gets me excited about having a bot to do the repetitive transactional stuff is you can turn that on and off.
You can.
And no double entendre there. It's literally like I don't have to commit to a salary when I'm onboarding new clients. I can just literally try, so it just gives me that flexibility not to invest in people.
I think it changes the economics potentially for you. So I think
it reduces risk as well. In terms of,
it's been, I think it's almost like 18 months, 2 years since and I'll give him a shout out here, but Will Farnell brought his book The Human Firm, and in that he talked about the inflection points of growth and scale. 10 people, 20 people, and I forget the exact numbers, right? But it goes up, and every time there's this tipping point. So I think
it's kind of like a step, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. What you can do with using bots on AI is that you can change those markers maybe. So the number of people that maybe someone can look after today might be 6 clients. But maybe with automation AI, it's 12 clients. Which means then, yes, your hiring pattern changes, and you can do more with less. And get more value from the stuff that you're actually doing. And I think that's really the transformational opportunity.
Well, definitely for a firm my size, that's the thing. And I'm sure at any size, if it works for me, it will work for everyone.
Up. It does, yeah.
But that for me is quite a powerful opportunity in terms of just trying to get things going.
And it all comes back again, as I said, it all comes back to doing different things, not doing things differently.
So, okay, so we've
got a 5 minute call.
5 minutes, right? Okay. So we'll move on. So we kind of, the survey is all about trying to learn about people's needs, where they are, where they want to be. We've heard about some case studies as how bots can help, and how essentially they're actually something that's in play now. So what about the future? Where do you see sort of like how someone in my place, what's the next thing, and how can I use a digital workforce to help my practice grow, help my practice become more profitable, and just tell us a little bit about how. How I can get on the bus, because I'm already on it. But if someone isn't already sort of like engaging with you guys and learning about using a bot or a digital workforce, where do I start?
And obviously they don't have to use us. I mean, there's other ways to do it, right? We're just the leaders in it. But there's other ways to go about this. And I always say, just start. There is no such thing as a perfect time to start anything. Now,
I guess the survey is a good start.
It's a great. It is a brilliant start
because you don't know what you don't know.
You don't know what you don't know. You're getting some insights from it, and it's just talking to people. And having coming from an accounting background myself, I know that there are 2 weeks out of every month that you just don't even bother speaking to me. I'm too busy. I'm either closing one month or opening the next one.
Yeah.
I'm reporting on it, right? So there's only 2 weeks in every month that really you get quality time, and that time's got to be used efficiently.
And what if I was to say to you that I just haven't got any time until February because of the tax return deadline to change anything in my practice? You know, what would you say to that? Because change is never easy, right? And I've never got enough hours in the day. But this is, you know, how easy is it to start using the bot?
It's incredibly easy. Yeah, it couldn't be any easier. And I think the problem is, and I'll be really blunt, and this will upset some people, but ultimately we all procrastinate. We don't not find time for things because they're not important. We just don't make enough time for things, and that it's a case of you don't prioritize your schedule. You have to schedule your priorities. Yeah. That's the difference. Ultimately, there is no such thing as a good time. You know, there's always busy times. There's always closing. There's always opening. There's always other stuff and reporting and tax, and these things are never going to go away. Okay. You've just got to say, right, we're going to put in the calendar for Thursday at 3:00, and we're going to make a start. And that 30-minute conversation might change your life. It might not. But ultimately, at least you know that you've done it and you've gone.
So for me, you know, just to jump in, sorry to cut over you, and I know we're tight on time, but for me, I tried it with 5 clients.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you know,
one client.
And you know, the clients that no one else in my practice managed apart from me, I just tried them with them because I know I'd be the only one that suffered. Yeah. And that actually, then I sort of road tested it in my head. I don't actually, in my app stack, I always test things before I roll it out into the wider group. Yeah. So that's how I did it. That was my baby step.
Yeah. In a 30-minute call, we can plug in your bot, run something for you on your clients, and you can see firsthand in front of you whether that's going to work for you or not. We'll know straight away. Yeah. And that's just an indication of the things that you can and can't do.
Yeah.
You know, and that first conversation leads to a second one. And, you know, we just want to, like I say, this is really what that survey is about. It's to give people insight. It's to educate people, tell them what's what within the whole industry as much as, so it's really key that we get as many people to complete the survey as we can, because the more people we get, the better representation we get.
So just to say it out loud then, you know, this isn't about small practices. This isn't about big practices. This is we're trying to get a good consensus across the whole UK global accounting practices as to where they are, what they want, and
what they're using, and why they're using it, why they're not.
Yeah. All right. Cool.
Yeah. It's the first major step for.
So right. How are we gonna close this webinar off? I mean, you know, I've definitely learned a lot about what's possible, why. Well, the when you've just answered really, which is crack on. Yeah. So you know, what about what people should take away from this call? It is going to be recorded, and I know they can watch it back because we've probably covered an awful lot. But what should be the things that people are taking away and asking themselves about their own practice and their own process in order to, you know, really, I don't know. I kind of engage with the results of the survey as well as participating in the survey. So, what were the closing ideas from your side on that?
I think most importantly, take out 3.5 minutes, complete the survey.
Yep.
You will get nearly not instantaneous, but you'll get feedback very quickly from that. We're running the survey until, and I'm going to look at the team, when are we closing it? 19th of December, you've got until to complete it.
So it's a clear month.
Yeah, and we will get initial feedback between Christmas and New Year.
Christmas shopping doesn't start until the 20th anyway, so
exactly.
Know, that's all right.
So while you're waiting for shopping to be done and stuff, we'll get initial feedback and results to everybody with flash results of what's gone on. The detailed feedback and report will happen in the new year, in the first 2 weeks of January. Brilliant. So we're not taking any breaks in Christmas. Just told everybody, but that we're going right through. We're getting this thing done. There's also, this is going to be sent out via the DAS team. We're obviously doing some stuff with DAS at the moment as well. This is going to go out via them as well. But the link is going to be on the chat. It's going to be on.
So DAS is the digital accounting show. We're exhibiting, next year again. It's in April, I believe.
April 1st and 2nd.
Okay, anyway.
So between now and the 1st and 2nd of April, on that last presentation, I think demo we do on the stand on day 2 at DAS on the 2nd of April, This is just the first one of those things. We're going to be drip feeding lots of information. So if you just want to ask questions, if you're just inquisitive and you just want to just throw a load of questions at us, if you want to jump on a call and have a chat, this is what we're here for. We're not just here to build stuff and sell stuff to people. We're here to work with the industry, work with accountants, for accountants, to make their work less work, to make accounting great again.
Oh, it's a good catch that, Ryan. You never know. That might work for someone else. Yeah,
you could catch on, couldn't it?
Look, first and foremost, thanks for sparing the time to join us today. I don't know, I've learned a lot of thought-provoking stuff. I'm already on the bus. I can only imagine if someone's not yet on the bus, what they're thinking about, what's possible. All I can say is that bots are real. They are a huge resource which is an opportunity actually to really move with the sector and change into the next gear of the direction of travel.
And it's not
that's
just
going on.
We're here for accounting practice, right? Now that doesn't mean we're just here for your ERP system. So if you've got something else within your practice that you need some help on, you need some digital workers. It could be IT related, HR related, payroll related. It could be anything in your practice: onboarding, offboarding, sales, marketing. We're here for practice and accountants and bookkeepers. So if there's something you need, it doesn't need to be just accounting related.
Excellent.
We're here for the sector.
All right, brilliant. Okay. So please do participate in the survey. The more you put in, the more you'll get out. I don't know if we've got time for any questions. I don't even know if there are any questions. No questions come through so far. But either way, we're probably going to close off the webinar very shortly. But if there are any questions that you haven't asked, please just follow the link that will be sort of published. There will be a recording available of the webinar, and by all means reach out if you feel the need for a demo or you just want to find out more. But most importantly, please engage with the survey, because I think it's a real opportunity to help design the future of our sector and also the tools that we use, which is changing
by the day
really quickly.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you all for your time. I won't say Happy Christmas yet because it's too early, but thanks again, and thanks to you, Daniel. I think it's been a really good session.
Thank you, Neil. Appreciate it. Okay.